You step out your back door on a Saturday morning, coffee in hand, and there's a black thread of Argentine ants running the seam of your patio, filing under the door like the ants pay rent. Here's what the synthetic pesticide industry made sure you'd never put together. There's a 50 cents fix that does what they charge you $350 a year to keep doing. 50 cents against $350. Borax has been on the laundry shelf since 1948, and I tell you now, there are 7 places I put this stuff. Number 5 empties the whole nest, queen and all, and the borax only works mixed a particular way. I'll give you the exact mix and the reason borax disappeared before this video ends, but not yet. Because to understand why the borax has to be weak instead of strong, you've got to know what a man in a short-sleeved dress shirt wrote down in 1956 to make sure you'd never figure it out on your own. Stay with me, I'll hand you both, the recipe and the reason boric acid vanished off the shelf. Let me tell you where I learned it. There's a feed store off the Farm to Market Road outside Brenham, here in Washington County, and I bought seed and fence staples there for 30 years. Roy Pearson used to sit at that counter most mornings, retired exterminator, did the work from 1968 till his knees quit. One spring I stood at that feed store counter griping about ants in the chicken feed, fixing to buy whatever jug Roy had on the shelf, and Roy put his hand flat on the wood and told me to save my money. Said the only thing in that store worth buying for ants was the plain white box on the bottom shelf in the laundry aisle. The 20 Mule team said he'd sold the patented stuff his whole career and the cheap box beat half of it. Then Roy got quiet, the way a man does when he said more than he meant to. I asked Roy why, and he just tapped that white box twice and changed the subject. So here's why borax works, and I'll be straight. The best part I'm holding back on purpose, because it belongs at the mound, not here. Borax is a slow poison, not a knockdown. You don't want borax to drop the Argentine ant on the trail, and that runs against every instinct you've got because you've been trained your whole life to want the spray that kills on contact. The slowness is the secret. I'll show you why at number 5. For now, hold on to the word slow. Now here's the history Roy only half told me, and I ran the rest down myself. The EPA put boric acid on the household shelf in 1948 as a registered bug killer, plain mineral, pennies a box. Then through the 1950s, the synthetic pesticide business got organized. The industry stood up a trade body, the National Pest Control Materials Council, and the National Pest Control Materials Council sent its members a field bulletin. In 1956, the council reclassified plain boric acid as inadequate and non-residual and buried boric acid off the recommended products list, steering every licensed applicator toward the new patented residual sprays, the permakill jugs the industry could mark up. And here's the part that ought to make you set your coffee down. That same field bulletin number 47B admitted, in its own words, that the cheap bait reached the queen in 9 out of 10 colonies. The council conceded the mineral worked and shelled boric acid anyway. Why? Because the bulletin said the bait took 11 to 14 days, and 11 to 14 days is too slow for a billable callback schedule. The council didn't bury boric acid because boric acid failed. The council buried boric acid because it worked in 2 weeks instead of on a route you could bill every quarter. You can't patent a mineral that sells for 50 cents a batch. You can patent permakill. That's the whole story. Dr. Howard Ainsley, an entomologist out of the Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Office in College Station, confirmed that slow kill mechanism on the record back before the trade literature went quiet for good. Now let me be fair, because the man with the license is not always wrong. You've got carpenter ants chewing the floor joist that hold your second story up. Call him. You've got a red imported fire ant mound 4 feet from where the grandkids run barefoot. Call him. Let him bring the licensed residual. That's real work, and the licensed man earns every dollar. I mean that, but the 9 out of 10 ordinary sugar ant trains marching your kitchen counter on a Saturday, that's a 50-cent borax job. That's the one the spray people would just as soon bill you for forever. Know the difference, and you'll never overpay for the small one again. So let me walk you around my place and show you where the box goes. Number 1. The foundation trail. Go look along the bottom of your house where the slab meets the dirt. You'll find a seam, and along the seam a single file line of Argentine scouts marching in and out. That line is a highway, not a house. Folks chase Argentine ants around the kitchen when the kitchen is just an off-ramp. The real road runs the foundation. I wipe a line of borax bait paste straight across that trail and let the Argentine ants walk through the paste. A perimeter spray service charges you a fortune to treat that same foundation line 4 times a year. A wiped line of 50-cent borax paste does the same march without a truck in your driveway. Number 2. Indoors, the kitchen baseboard and the crack under the door casing where the odorous house ants file in after dark. Here's what folks get wrong inside. They set the borax bait where they wish the odorous house ants would go, not where the ants already are. Indoors, the odorous house ants hunt water and grease as much as sugar, so I set a bottle cap of bait tied against the baseboard right on the trail, snug in the corner. And this is where I owe you the first word about safety, because it's the first thing anybody with a dog asks. Set that cap where the dog and the cat can't get a tongue on the borax, behind the toe kick, under a cabinet lip. We'll talk more when I hand you the full mix, but file it now, out of reach of the pets. Number 3. The barbecue and the patio table, the place that ruins a Saturday. The grill cart, the leg of the table where you set your plate. Some of these odorous house ants don't care a thing about sugar. They're after grease, and they'll walk right past a sweet bait. So for the grill ants, I run the same trick with a different lure. I work a smear of bacon fat into the borax instead of sugar. Same 50-cent fix, dressed for the ant that's coming. You match the bait to the ant, not the other way around. Number 4. Out in the garden, the raised bed border, the edge of the vegetable patch. If you grow tomatoes, you've maybe seen Argentine ants on your plants and wondered why. The Argentine ants are farming. They herd aphids onto the stems of your celebrity and your Cherokee purple and your brandywine, milk the aphids for the sugar they leak, and guard the aphids from anything that'd eat them, kill the Argentine ant, and you break the whole racket. The aphids lose their bodyguard. So I set the borax bait on a flat stone at the corner of the bed, never in the soil near the roots, and keep that powder off the open blooms, because the bees and the butterflies are on your side in this fight, and you don't dose your own allies. But all 4 of those, and 2 more I haven't shown you, only clear the ants you can see. Those 4 clean the trail. Number 5 is different. It's the one I made you wait for, the one Roy Pearson said couldn't be done with a 50-cent box. Come on. Let me take you out to the mound. Number 5. Walk with me past the patio to the spot this whole video has been pointing at, right here. You see that little crater in the dirt by the fence line, the loose ring of soil with a hole in the middle? That's the front door. That's the mound, a red imported fire ant colony, Solenopsis, the kind that owns this part of the Brazos bottom. This is the only one of the 7 that doesn't kill ants. It kills the colony. It empties the whole nest, queen and all, from the inside out for under $1. Now watch, because it's almost nothing. I'm not pouring borax down the hole. I'm not flooding the mound, not torching it, not doing any dramatic thing a man wants to do when he finds the nest. I set 1 generous cap of bait right here at the doorway where the Solenopsis foragers come and go. That's it, because the foragers do the work I can't. They find this cap on their way out, load up, and carry the bait straight down, past the soldiers, into the chambers, all the way to the larva and the queen herself. The mound delivers my dose for me. And here's the part that'll worry you if I don't warn you first. For the next 3-4 days, you'll see more fire ants out here, not fewer, more traffic than before I set the cap. Most folks panic, figure the bait failed, sweep the cap up, go buy permakill. Don't. That surge is the borax working. Every one of those extra Solenopsis workers is a delivery run down into the nest. You want to see that crowd. The crowd is the colony eating itself. Then over the better part of 2 weeks, that whole mound goes quiet. Not because the fire ants on top died, because the queen underneath did. And once she stops laying, there's no next generation to replace the workers that age out. The nest collapses from the bottom up. For 50 cents, no truck in the driveway, no contract, no quarterly callback. Now, I know what you want from me right this second. You want the ratio, and I'm going to give it to you, the exact mix and the reason it has to be that way, in a minute. But let me finish the tour, because the last 2 places are what keep this nest from coming back. Stay with me. Number 6, the vertical one. Most people never look up. Walk over to this pecan, you see the line of carpenter ants running up the trunk, steady both directions like a 2-lane road bolted to the bark. The carpenter ants aren't living in the tree. They're forming up in the canopy, tending a second aphid colony on the new growth. You'll never reach that canopy nest. Don't try. Every carpenter ant servicing the canopy has to cross the bottom of this trunk. So I band the trunk low, at chest height, a ring of borax bait across the highway where I can stand and reach it. I don't chase the nest up the tree. I let the highway carry the dose up for me. Same trick as the mound. The carpenter ant's own traffic does the hauling. Number 7. The last one, and the one most folks skip, which is exactly why the ants come back in a month. This is the trash can ring and the back door step, the spot where you walk out with the garbage bag and step into a swarm before your coffee's cool. Cap at the base of the can, cap tucked under the lip of the step. Here's why this matters more than it looks. Once that fire ant mound at number 5 is gone, you've got a vacancy. Empty ground, good real estate, and the Argentine ants 2 yards over know it. The Argentine ants will send scouts to move into the territory you cleared. Number 7 is the maintenance post. It's the one you keep baited after the war's won, so the next colony finds the welcome mat already poisoned and turns around. And notice, all 7 of these spots work because of the same one slow borax mix. One recipe runs the whole yard, which brings me to the mix I promised. Now, if you've already got ants, if they're on the counter this morning and you're not building anything, you're just trying to get the ants out of your kitchen, this next part is for you. You don't need an exterminator and you don't need the permakill off the end cap. You need the 20 Mule Team box on the laundry shelf and the sugar bowl on your table. A cap at every one of the 7 spots we walked. A shallow bottle cap or a jar lid, nothing fancy. You stir the borax into warm water, warm from the tap, not boiling, and stir until the powder dissolves clear and runs thin, like a light syrup. Pour the syrup in the caps, set the caps at the spots, and then, this is the hard part for most people, leave the bait alone. Don't sweep the dead ones. Don't move the cap to a tidier spot. Don't check the cap every hour. Give the borax the better part of 2 weeks and let it work. And the money on it, a box of borax runs you a couple of dollars and lasts years. A single batch costs about 50 cents. Set that against the $350 a year a quarterly spray contract runs, and you see why the industry'd rather you didn't know. One safety word, because it's the first thing anybody asks. Borax is low toxicity to people and pets, but low toxicity is not the same as candy, so don't treat borax like nothing. Set those caps where the dog, the cat, and the kids can't get a tongue on the bait, up on a stone, behind the can, under the step. And keep the powder off open blooms, because the bees and the butterflies are on your side out here. I'm a farmer, I'm not your vet, and I'm not your doctor. If a pet gets into the borax, you call the one who is. Set it smart and borax stays a fix instead of a problem. Now, I'm still holding the exact ratio on you on purpose. I'll give you the precise mix in a minute, but first you've got to know why the borax has to be weak instead of strong, because that why is the whole secret the council buried, and the recipe doesn't mean a thing without it. So let me run the whole yard back for you in one breath. The foundation trail, the kitchen baseboard, the grill and the patio, the raised bed garden where the Argentine ants farm your celebrity and your Cherokee purple, the mound where number 5 empties the nest, the pecan trunk up to the canopy, and the trash ring by the back step, 7 spots, 1 50-cent mix against $350 a year. But stay right here because I still owe you the mix and the reason borax vanished. Now let me answer the 3 things you're already asking in order. The first thing people ask is it safe around my pets and my kids? Low toxicity, like I said, but you said it smart. Up off the floor, behind the can, away from the food bowl. You control where the cap sits, so sit it somewhere only the ants can reach. The second thing people ask is, Earl, I already tried borax and it didn't do a thing. I believe you, and I'll bet you the box you've still got in the cabinet that you mixed the borax too strong. You wanted the bait to work, so you doubled the powder, and the strong mix kills the worker right there on the trail before she makes it home. A dead worker on your counter kills nothing underground. That's the whole game, and it's the thing Roy Pearson's old trade was counting on you getting wrong. The third thing people ask is, isn't this just a conspiracy theory? No, it's worse, and I want you to hear the difference. Nobody hid boric acid in a vault. There was no secret meeting with the lights off. It's a line item, a margin decision. The council stopped putting the cheap mineral on the recommended products list because nobody can patent a mineral and nobody can mark up a thing that sells for pennies. And the spray people are right about the hard jobs. Carpenter ants chewing your roof joist, a red imported fire ant mound by the kids' swing set. A true wall-to-wall infestation, that's their fight. Call them, pay them, no shame in it. But the ordinary trail across your counter, the mound by the fence, 9 times in 10, the 50-cent borax wins. The council didn't lie about what permakill does. The industry made sure you forgot what the 20 mule team box does. So here's the part Roy Pearson finally told me, and the part that 1956 Bulletin spent a paragraph trying to bury. It has nothing to do with how strong you mix the borax and everything to do with how slow the borax kills. You think you want the stuff strong, knock 'em dead on contact. That instinct feels right, and that backwards instinct is exactly what got sold to you. Borax is a slow poison, not a knockdown. Borax doesn't drop the worker on the trail. Borax works on her gut and kills her gradual over the better part of 2 weeks. That delay everybody treats like a flaw. That's the entire secret. The worker eats your bait, feels nothing, and walks the borax home, down the hole into the colony, mouth to mouth to the larvae and the queen herself before she dies. Kill her fast, and the dose dies with her on your porch. Kill her slow, and she turns into the delivery truck. The first time I set a cap at my own fire ant mound out back, down by the Brazos bottom fence line, I half expected nothing. I watched that Solenopsis crowd surge for 4 days, the way Roy Pearson said it would, and then one morning the whole crater sat silent. The queen gone, the Solenopsis colony hollowed out from under itself. Dr. Howard Ainsley, the urban entomology man out of the Texas A&M AgriLife office in College Station, put a number on it before the trade literature went quiet. Queen mortality in 9 out of 10 treated colonies, with a mineral you buy for 50 cents. So here's the recipe the council didn't want sitting next to the price tag. 1 part borax to 3 parts plain white sugar dissolved in warm water until it runs clear. And 3 is the number that matters. The sugar's the truck, the borax is the cargo, and you keep the cargo light. Too much borax and she dies on your porch before she makes it home, and that's exactly the inadequate non-residual verdict Field Bulletin number 47B wrote down in 1956 to retire boric acid. Read Field Bulletin number 47B close and the trick gives itself away. The council didn't call boric acid ineffective because it failed. The council called it ineffective because it worked in 11 days instead of on a callback schedule you could bill 4 times a year. The same bulletin that buried boric acid admitted, in its own paragraph, queen mortality in 9 out of 10 colonies. The council wrote down that the mineral worked and then shelved it for working too cheap. So that's the mix, and that's the reason boric acid vanished. Now do me one favor before you go. Tell me which of the 7 is your battleground. The foundation, the kitchen, the patio, the garden, the pecan, the trash can, or the mound itself. And tell me where you're seeing them this week. I read every comment and I answer the ones I can. And if you'd rather know the cheap thing that works than keep paying for the expensive thing billed by the visit, subscribe. That's the whole reason this channel exists, to walk back out and recover the cheap, honest fixes that got moved off the shelf where you'd see them. Subscribe and you're one of the folks taking the backyard back, one 50-cent box at a time. Next week I'm taking you out to the one the lawn chemical people really didn't want sitting in your shed. That same 50-cent 20 mule team box from that same laundry aisle kills the moss and the weeds in the cracks of your driveway. No glyphosate, not a drop. And there's a date on the calendar when the weed and feed folks decided you'd buy the jug instead of reaching for the box you already own. That story's got its own loop, and I'll hand you the whole thing next week, because it was never about the ants. It was about a 50-cent box that did the job, sitting 1 aisle over from a permakill jug that cost you $350 a year to do it slower, and somebody in a back room in 1956 deciding which one got to be called the real thing. You didn't forget how to do this. Boric acid got moved off the shelf because nobody can put a patent and a markup on a mineral. And now you know what the 20 mule team box does, so you already know what to do with that box.